Take a moment to read this. You can pause it, and it'll give you time to figure out what's being said in it, and then I'll read it out loud. In college, the middle 50% of first-year students attending the University of Massachusetts at Amherst scored between 520 and 630 on the math portion of the SAT. They scored between 510 and 610 on the reading portion of the test. Graph the scores that a student would need to be in the middle 50% of first-year students. Now, let's think about what's going on here. Well, you're probably distracted by these numbers, but let's eliminate those. And let's think about these scores, because that's really what they're talking about, is graphing the scores. And we have two different types of scores. The first one is math. Let's see if you can figure out what the other one is. And no, I'm not trying to be obnoxious. I literally think there's so much junk in this word problem that it's difficult to filter through and realize that there's two different tests going on with two different range is. So here's 520 to 630. Here is 510 to 620. And because these are different tests, we can set up a graphing. We can set up a graph to where we have two axes, where one would represent math and the other one would represent reading. Now, instead of having to draw this all crazy out detailed, let's think how we could make our life a little bit easier. Nah, never mind. We'll make it detailed. Okay, so here's 1,000. Here's 1,000, which means that would be 500. This would be 500, and that would be 250, and 250, and 250. Now, I don't think we're really using this graph to apply anything, any of what we're talking about. So because of that, let's not worry about extreme precision here. Now, I can also think of the math being the x-axis, so maybe it would be helpful to see this as 520 is less than, and I'm saying less than because they're saying between x is less than 630. I think it should say less than or at if we wanted 520 and 630 to be options, but probably overthinking it too much. And then the other one is going to be 510 is less than y is less than 620. So if I just deal with the math area, here's 520 to 630. I think that'll be accurate enough for our purposes. And so we have a region bound here. But then we have 510 to 620. And we have another region bound here. But what we're really interested in is this overlap. And so I'll draw a little arrow to this and say scores. So this is the overlapping scores where the math and the reading jive together. I'll be honest with you, I think this is a pretty silly problem and kind of makes the systems of inequality seem less interesting. I wish they could do better. Health. The LDL, or bad cholesterol, of a teenager should be less than 110. The HDL, the good cholesterol, of a teen should be between 35 and 59. Make a graph showing appropriate levels of cholesterol for a teenager. So let's go with defining our two different variables. Well, we got one type of cholesterol level and another type of cholesterol level. So let's label LDL. That's LDL. I'm sorry about the handwriting there. And that should be less than 110. And this time I'll jump right into the variables. Well, the high cholesterol, I'm sorry, not high, the good cholesterol, HDL, should be between 35 and 39. So let's say less than, y is less than 39. And if I want to show this intersection where we'd have a healthy balance, let's see what this would look like. So here's my x-axis, here's my y-axis, And I think I can label this LDL and HDL for more clarity. And this first one goes all the way up to 110. So let's make 100 here, and then 50, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, just to give us an idea of where 110 would be. So it should be less than 110, so I'll graph this in purple as a dashed vertical line. And I think I'll show a light arrow, so I'll make this in red, meaning don't write it, but you can make yours lightly because it might get erased later. And then we also have the 35 to 59. So I think I'll stop this one at 60. And I'll just use these because they can work as nice increments of 20. And if I look at this, I'm thinking, well, 59, that's pretty darn close to 60. So here's my... Oh, I just realized this should have been a 5 earlier, excuse me. So 59 is pretty darn close to 60. So I have a horizontal line there with arrows on each side. And I have 35, which should be a little bit above the middle of that boundary. And then when I go to shade all this in, I'm thinking, well, it's between this, and I'm going to stop once I get to here. So this region represents a healthy teenage kid. Okay, those graphing problems aren't too crazy in my opinion. I think the word ones will go okay, and I also enjoy graphing systems of inequalities, but we can sit through and see what this looks like on paper if you're concerned about the quality of your work and making sure you're building the right strategies moving forward. So, hopefully the word problems felt comfortable and you'll feel good doing them on your own.